Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
From Eastern Canada, it's 10 a.m., and we want to welcome everyone from around the world who attends on a regular basis these live Zoom call meetings to discuss the scriptures given by Srila Prabhupada, his original books, amongst other devotees, because association with devotees, Prabhupada constantly stresses that in his books, is very important for everyone to make advancement. It's through association, and especially the association of Srila Prabhupada, who is at the center of this association of devotees. He is the focal point, being the leader of our group. And his books, his letters, his lectures are the directive that we take in practicing Krishna consciousness, which is a process of sadhana bhakti, a regular participation on a weekly basis in these programs to hear the philosophy, the unchanged philosophy of Srila Prabhupada as he delivered it to his disciples for their benefit. And these directions that he gave us are not to be changed. I was thinking about people that work in this world. For example, the auto industry. In the auto industry, there are so many different cars. And with each car, there's a manual. This manual gives a direction to the mechanic how to fix the car. And you don't change the manual according to your own speculation. Oh, I think it should be this way or that way. The car manufacturer gives exact directions on how to fix the car. And in this way, you can have a successful trip to the mechanic. He fixes it according to the manual. So, Prabhupada's books are exact. They're a manual of insight, transcendental insight into the spiritual world. I'm reading the Bhagavad Gita again, as all of you know. I've been mentioning it and quoting it throughout our recent discussions. And the insight into the Bhagavad Gita, the understanding of it in Prabhupada's purports is very precise, exact. Now, Prabhupada, in a recent lecture I was listening to, he said, you cannot change the Bhagavad Gita. Where is the authority? Where is the authority to change the Bhagavad Gita by a third-class person? It's exactly his words. So, in this way, it has to be preserved. Prabhupada's purports, Krishna Katha, and the texts of the Bhagavad Gita, yes, they are transcendentally directed by the Supreme Lord himself as an opportunity for the conditioned soul to become illuminated with knowledge. We're in a comatose state of existence, unconscious. And through the proper application of this process under the guidance of the bona fide spiritual master, in association with his disciples, one can get out of this state of confusion, delusion, bewilderment. The conditioned soul is individually situated in this world. Yes, we're born by ourselves, and we die on our own. And we, as devotees, are only aware of our particular consciousness. Like I'm conscious of my own pains and pleasures. And you're individually conscious of your own pains and pleasures. So each person is on his own in a sense. Yes, we have a responsibility. Just like Prabhupada gives the example of flying in the sky. You can fly above the clouds, or you can fly below the clouds. It's up to the individual to decide what direction in life they want to take. And we're very fortunate, everyone, to have had association with very good devotees. Yes, we have. I know in Montreal, Mother Rochisha, she had a chance to associate with a Prakrita Prabhu, who was a very great devotee of Srila Prabhupada. And he was flying above the clouds by his personal example and by his personal determination to serve Srila Prabhupada and Prabhupada's mission to spread the message of Lord Chaitanya to everyone he met. That is, of course, our responsibility. And we were reading in the diaries yesterday, very interestingly, how Prabhupada was not making very much advancement with other people in the early days. He was running classes, but no one was showing up. He was setting meetings for people to talk to about distributing books, but they would cancel. And he was sending letters and messages to other people, his godbrothers in India, no response, or response, but no. So it was very disappointing for him. And he was in a difficult situation, as we all know. He was living in an office, 301, in that office building, and had no facilities per se in terms of personal items to help him, like a bathroom or a kitchen, nothing. He was totally dependent on others, which is a very difficult situation to be in, as we all know. When you become dependent on other people and they let you down, they disappoint you, it becomes somewhat discouraging in a relative sense. But the fact of the matter is that Prabhupada was totally surrendered to the mission of his spiritual master and the instructions, and so that he gave him. And so in the same way, we have that same purpose, to follow in his footsteps and to carry on with the mission as best as we can in this modern times, 2024, where things are much, in a relative sense, much different than they were back in the 60s and 70s. But still, the purpose is the same. So we want to thank everyone for participating. It's in this weekly sadhana program, because association with others is very inspiring and encouraging. And we do appreciate everyone's effort to keep the ship going forward on our journey back home, back to Godhead. That is our mission, to serve our spiritual master and somehow or other get out of this material world. And when we read the Gita, it's so illuminating. I showed it. All the information that's there, it's such a treasure and an opportunity for each person in this group to become enlightened. You know, we get up in the morning, we can be bewildered, let's face it. Things are difficult, but at the same time, if we take shelter of the information that Srila Prabhupada is delivering in his books, it gives us hope, it gives us vision, it gives us confidence that we're doing the right thing. We're presenting Prabhupada in his Vani incarnation. So we'll go now to the diaries. We're at Thursday, February 17th, 1966. And Prabhupada is in a particular situation, as we all know and we've been reading. So you have to see the pace here of how he is dealing with his situation. Because as we move forward into the future months that he is continuing his effort, his things to do list, his activities change dramatically as Krishna continues to help him continue on with his efforts. So on Thursday, February 7th, today is Ekadasi was observed. Mr. Bogart met with me. There's this writing. I wanted you to see that. And he's handed over a letter. He promised action. Expenditure bus fare was 30 cents. Mr. Paul, that's Paul Murray, everyone, Introduction to Koan, took one set of books, price to be realized. So he gave him credit. One letter received from United States Navigation regarding MV Jaladuta starting on the 24th. So the footnote is that it was Paul Murray, and then 14 is Srila Prabhupada, who come from India on board the Jaladuta, a freighter of the Scindia steamship line. And on Friday, the 18th of February, again, there's the beautiful handwriting. Just see how gorgeous it is. It gives you an insight into Prabhupada's character. Friday, February 18th, shipping company replied, proposed starting by Jaladuta, one letter forwarded for Captain Pandya. Received letter from Surya Kumar, and we're going to read that in the next page, asking me to write to the Prime Minister and the copy of the letter sent to him. So I sent one letter to the Prime Minister and a copy to Surya Kumar for necessary action. Copy of Sri Padampat's letter sent. Two other letters are dispatched as follows. The ambassador of Nepal for an interview and the ambassador of India requesting him to arrange for my meeting with the president of USA. Two sets of books brought from Paragon. He was storing them there. The man declines to deliver books like this. Sally has not sent the books as yet. That's Sally Agarwal. An expenditure of bus fare was 15 cents. Dr. Mishra asked me to come to the ashram, but I didn't go. Simply waste of time. Simply waste. Mishra, Mr. Mishra, using him to conduct his kirtan, not allowing him to speak. Simply a waste of time. One Polish lady paid me the other day $1. So we'll read this letter. So let's put it in context. Prabhupada's been trying to stimulate this effort with these people. And we're going to get an indication of their response to his requests in this letter. That's why we're going to read it. All India Commerce Committee, January 31st, 66. Param Puja Swamiji. This is from Surya Kumar Joshi. You may not believe it. Day before yesterday, while going to the office, I felt like chanting the Tarak Brahman Nam Hare Krishna, etc. And the association of this mantra will, with you, set me thinking about you. I began worrying about you, and I may confess, ominous thoughts entered my mind. I know you have a frail body, and there is no one near to give you nourishing diet. With such a train of thought, I reached the office, and what a wonderful surprise to find your letter on my desk. Excitement ran high as I read your letter, and only after lapse of some time I began thinking with a cool mind of the great responsibility that you have entrusted me. Needless to say, nothing could be nobler or greater or better in the service of the cause that you cherish than the idea of building a Radha Krishna temple in New York. I have been possessed by the idea, and I consider it indeed a great privilege to be of any use to you in this noble cause. 1. I suggest that you should write to your friends in India who are willing to donate the necessary sum that I would be seeing in this connection, maybe as they can suggest ways and means whereby the necessary amount could be available to you at New York. Maybe they have funds in foreign banks which they could transfer to you. I think that if you are as keen as we are to build a truly representative Hindu temple in America, they would be in a better position to tell us how to go about this task. On receipt of copies of your letter to your wealthy friends, I will try to connect them. 2. You should address letters to Indira Gandhi, Prime Minister, Home Minister Sri Gulzarlal Nanda, and Minister for Foreign Trade Sri Manubhai Shah, stressing on the cultural aspect of this project that you wish to undertake, and please send copies of these letters to me to enable me to see them personally in this matter. They may like to know the names of the persons who wish to donate the money. Maybe they would also want declaration from these persons of their desire to contribute money towards this end. 3. So these are all his suggestions. Seems positive anyway. Building a Hindu temple in America is a cause in which not only Hindu livings in India but throughout the world would be made to take due interest. Maybe a trip to the West Indies and Canada, and wherever Hindus live in large numbers would be necessary. You should at least try to procure a list of all Hindus living in USA and Canada from our embassies, and then begin correspondence with them. 4, it is a big task, and to begin with, you need someone here you expect execute your plans vigorously. I am willing to come and join you for consultation and further action. With all my feelings, I cannot claim to be a devoted servant of Lord Krishna, but so far as building a temple is concerned, I am for it with all my heart and soul. Therefore, if you think I may be of some use to you in America, please do the needful to call me there. Why not I come to America with 2 beautiful life-size images of Radha Krishna, and I'm sure once the holy images come under your care, they would themselves arrange for a suitable roof over their heads. Many ideas keep on pressing me, and I'm anxiously await your guidance in this matter. So it's to Prabhupada, I think you should, and then he PSs, I think you should address a letter to Maharaj of Nepal, who may be very useful in this project. So quite an interesting letter from this person in India. Appears he never really followed up on the program, but nonetheless gave some reasonable recommendations to the pure devotee of Krishna, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the Sankirtan mission of Lord Chaitanya. We'll move forward now with the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava by His Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and then the reading and discussion conducted by our godbrother Yashodanandana Prabhu back in Twain Harte, California. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Muspat Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Sattvaresvara Samadhati Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Bhagavad Ki Jai Ananta Kodi Vaishnava Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Bhog Gopinath Sam Khanda Radha Khanda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Guru Dwarka Dham Ki Jai Swami Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the Assembly. All glories to the Assembly. Thank you very much.
All glories to you, Srila Prabhupada. Glories to you, Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Narayanam namaskrityam. Narayanam namaskrityam. Naram cheva narottamam. Naram cheva narottamam. Devim saraswatim vyasam. Devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. Tato jayam mudirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyāsadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1 to 4. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, the celebrated Bhagavad Purana. It's to be noted that for our upcoming reading, all the synonyms, translations, and purports are from His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. As we do every week, we will read a few selected verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam itself, from Canto 1, Chapter 2, which describes the meaning and the benefit of hearing this great, powerful, transcendental literature. Shushrushoho Shraddhadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchihi Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punyatirtha Nishevanat. O the twice-born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all ranges of vice, a standard of great service is done, and as the result of such great service, affinity in the messages of Vasudeva is made possible. Next. Shrinvatam svakataha Krishnaha punyashravana kirtanaha hridyantasto hyabadrani vidhunoti suritsatam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is also the Paramatma in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, does cleanse the desire for material enjoyment in the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge for hearing his Krishna's messages, which are themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Nashtaprayeshu avabhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in the Bhagavatam class, or rendering service unto the pure devotees, all that is inauspicious in the heart of a candidate becomes destroyed almost to nil, and thus loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, comes into being an irrevocable fact. Tadara justamo bhava kamalo bhadayaschaye chetayetera naviddam stitam sattve prasidati. As soon as irrevocable loving service is fixed up in one's heart, at that time the effects of the nature's mode of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire and hankerings, etc., do disappear from one's heart, and he becomes fixed up in a mode of goodness, which makes him completely happy. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha bhagavad tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayati. Thus, when one is positively fixed up in a mode of unalloyed goodness, The enlivened-minded man affected by contact of devotional service of the Lord can positively know scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. This vidyate hridaya grantis chidyante sarva samshaya kshiyante chasya karmani drishta evatmanishvari. The knot of one's heart is thus pierced, and all misgivings are cut into pieces. The chain of fruitive actions are terminated along with the seeing of oneself, the dominating factor. Again, we will be reading this week from Canto 1, Chapter 5, text number 20. No? 30? Okay. Maybe I'm a little bit behind here. 30. Jnanam guyatamam yattat takshad bhagavatu ditam anvabhochan gamishyantah kripaya dinavatsalah. Jnanam, knowledge, guhyatamam, most confidential, yat, what is, tat, that, sakshat, directly, bhagavatu ditam, propounded by the Lord himself, anvavochan, gave instruction, gamishyanto, while departing from, kripaya, by causeless mercy, dinavatsalaha, those who are very kind to the poor and meek. Translation: the Bhaktivedantas who are very kind upon the poor-hearted souls, while leaving the place, instructed me that most confidential subject, which is instructed by the personality of Godhead himself. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. A pure Vedantist, or the Bhaktivedantas, do instruct the followers exactly what is instructed by the Lord himself. The personality of Godhead, both in the Bhagavad Gita and in all other scriptures, as definitely instructed to follow the Lord only. Because the Lord is the creator, maintainer, and annihilator of everything, the whole manifestive creation is existing by his will. And by his will, when the whole show will be finished, he will remain in his eternal abode and with his all paraphernalia. This means before the creation, he was there in the eternal abode, and after the annihilation of everything, he will continue to remain. He is not, therefore, one of the created beings. He is transcendental. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that long before the instruction was imparted to Arjuna, the same was instructed to sun god, and in course of time, the same instruction being wrongly handled and being broken thereof, it was again re-instructed to Arjuna, because he was his perfect devotee and friend. Therefore, the instruction of the Lord can be understood by the devotees only and nobody else. The impersonalist who has no idea of the transcendental form of the Lord cannot understand this most confidential message of the Lord. The word most confidential is significant here because knowledge of devotional service is far and far above the knowledge of impersonal Brahman. Jnanam means knowledge, ordinary or any branch of knowledge. This knowledge develops up to the knowledge of impersonal Brahman. Above this, when the same is partially mixed up with devotion, such knowledge develops up to the knowledge of Paramatma, or the all-pervading Godhead. This is more confidential. But when such knowledge is turned into pure devotional service and the confidential part of transcendental knowledge is attained, it is called the most confidential knowledge. This most confidential knowledge was imparted by the Lord to Brahma, Arjuna, Uddhava, etc. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyayam Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadate Visheshataham Adadana Strinam Danteridam Yachi Punaha Punaham Srimadrupa Padam Bhoja Dhulishyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavatosmyaham Sadadasu asmi sarvata tatkripa pikshako nityam tatprishta karomi swam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Brinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In the Srimad Bhagavatam itself, in one of the previous chapters, the description of the absolute truth is given, Brahmeti Paramameti Bhagavaniti Shabdyati, that this transcendental knowledge of the absolute truth is to be understood. It is manifested in three phases, as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Now, the impersonalists have a very hard time understanding the situation with these three different phases. That is because their brains are contaminated with their envy towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's a clear description how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has described Mayavadi Bhashya Hoile Hai Sarvanash, that if one hears the commentary of the impersonalist, all of his spiritual life will be finished, will be doomed. In another place in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's a description, Mayavadi Oi Krishna Aparadi. The impersonalists are offender against the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. So this very dangerous, misleading philosophy is very, very insidious, very insidious. In the Nectar of Instruction, Prabhupada mentions in one purport how modern politicians take advantage of impersonalist philosophy to spread their nonsensical ideas, impersonal nonsense. But living being is a personal being. Everybody is striving for love, for eternity, for knowledge, for bliss, for attention. Every living, not just human being. It's well known, if you have a cat or a dog or any kind of even tigers or lions, these animals have got their own sense of affection. Although they're basically in the mode of passion and ignorance, and due to their body cannot understand spiritual knowledge, still, because they have a spirit soul also, the feeling of sentiment and affection is there. This is natural. It is the natural propensity of every living being. Just like yesterday we were discussing about that purport in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, the definition of bhakti. What is that definition? Nitya Siddhya Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunoi. That this love of Krishna, there's no need of artificial attempt. How is it developed then? Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Karaya Udoy. Udoy mean in Bengali to revive, to bring up. This Shravanadi means the transcendental process of devotional service. This is the actual process of how to develop this Krishna prema, this original, natural, affectionate love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada brought this process. We are reading from Srila Prabhupada's diary of what he went through in the beginning for the first year and a half or two to spread this movement. Only a superhuman person, only a Paramamsa of the topmost order could go through this. We know as people advance in age, it is much more difficult to do things, to travel, to work, because that is the nature of the physical body. As the body advances, this jara, old age, and vyadi, disease, affects everyone. And it is not an easy situation to deal with. But what Prabhupada dealt with was absolutely incomprehensible. But this is the difference between a nitya siddha, an eternally liberated soul, and an ordinary practitioner, a sadhaka. Sometimes people misunderstand that Prabhupada became an advanced devotee. No. Prabhupada was always a liberated soul. There was a letter Prabhupada wrote to one of his followers where he mentioned, there was never a time in this life where I ever forgot Krishna. And although Prabhupada said I had plenty of opportunity for sinful activities, I never indulged in these things. Prabhupada was a very special person, very unique. My good friend Narasimha Prabhu and my lowly self, we have compiled a little article called The Unique Historical Position of Srila Prabhupada. We're in the process, along with Vijay Pandit in Italy, to put the final touch to the article to basically get it released with a few pictures. And it's a description of the difference between a nitya siddha, an eternally liberated soul, and regular devotees. Now, when we read these diaries, it's quite evident that Srila Prabhupada was not an ordinary person. Otherwise, how could he do what he did? And we see that there are many contemporaries of Srila Prabhupada. He requested help from various industrialists, various politicians, various godbrothers, various persons, but very little practical help was given. There was a few letters of statements from various associates in the Gaudiya Math, where they wrote some kind of approval that he was a Gaudiya Vaishnava, but practical help of coming to help him with that mission, very few. And Srila Prabhupada very systematically introduced the process of this Shravan Adi. Shravan means to hear, Adi means the other 8 processes of devotional service. Now, Prabhupada adjusted things according to time, place, and circumstance. Recently, I was sent a correspondence from a devotee friend in India who had a correspondence with one of the institutional managers of the ISKCON Society, where one manager was arguing against the system of initiation which Srila Prabhupada established in 1977. In the typical run-of-the-mill argument, well, no one did that before. This is unprecedented. Where Prabhupada coming to America was unprecedented. Everything Prabhupada practically did was unprecedented. He himself, as a sannyasi, engaged and married his disciples. In India, sannyasis don't do that. He introduced so many practices and ways and means of spreading Krishna consciousness that nobody did. Just like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada did the same thing. There's pictures of him wearing long coat, wearing a turban, using a motor car. No other acharya in our sampradaya ever did that before. So many new things he introduced. But these things are meant for preaching, for moving forward the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. During the manifest presence of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, there was some criticism by some Babajis in Vrindavan, and one professional Pandit wrote a little booklet criticizing him, claiming that Gaur Kishore never gave sannyas to anybody. Gaur Kishore never wore a Brahmin thread. How did you get a Brahmin thread? Gaur Kishore did this. You took sannyas by yourself. You did this, you did that. And Prabhupada's reply to Prabhupada's reply to these criticisms, that if you take all these Goswamis in Vrindavan, all these Babajis, and all these Mahatmas in Braja, together, they have not advanced 1 inch the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Not 1 inch. But his Guru Maharaj took the mission and expanded it 66 temples. It is described he had 60,000 disciples. He preached the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over India. He published so many different literatures, different local newspapers that he had. He established a very beautiful commentary on Chaitanya Charitamrita. He carried the mission that was started by his father, Sachidananda Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So this is very special. And some way or other, by good fortune or by good pious activities, all of us have come in contact with Srila Prabhupada. It doesn't matter if one has come directly, physically in contact with Srila Prabhupada, or one did not physically meet Srila Prabhupada. If one has come in contact with the teachings, he has an obligation to carry on the mission, to distribute the knowledge, that not the adulterated knowledge, such as what has been done by some misleading so-called persons, so-called followers, the original teachings, the original unchanged, non-adulterated teachings. Srila Prabhupada in his teachings has given so many descriptions about Krishna, about Lord Chaitanya, about his pastimes and activities, and it's up to us to become familiar, to learn this philosophy, and to distribute it to others, especially those persons that were born in India or from Indian descent. One should not use the excuse, oh, such and such devotee may have slighted me, may have offended me, I want to walk off, I want to quit, I don't like this. No, you can't quit. This has nothing to do with being slighted. It has to do with you understanding the importance of the mission of Srila Prabhupada, the importance of the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in these previous acharyas. There are some amazing statements by Srila Prabhupada, how in the beginning, when he started his preaching in America, he used to describe in various letters why he was writing these books. As we know, in the beginning, there was no big books. I mean, he had written the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, parts 1, 2, and 3, but, there was most of the writings that he had done had been in India. He had written Easy Journey to Other Planets, Sri Shopanishad, a few chapters of Chaitanya Charitamrita. But in the beginning, the way that the movement spread with these little pamphlets, like Who is Crazy, The Peace Formula, the Transcendental Teachings of Prahlad Maharaj, it's a few pages, the little 2-page or 1-page write-up on chanting the Maha Mantra. When I first came to the Montreal Temple in 1969 on Park Avenue, there was a devotee named Sripati. Sripati was an English devotee. He was a wonderful kirtan leader and a very good cook. So what he did, the first thing he did is given me a little 1-page document called On Chanting the Maha Mantra. And he said, this explains the meaning of the Hare Krishna. because in those days I didn't have much command of English, although in Quebec you had to study English from the time you were 8 years old. But in the late 50s and early 60s, we didn't speak publicly English. So when I came to the temple, it was very difficult for people to decipher what I was saying because my accent was very, very thick. But I could read, I could understand, and it was amazing the clarity and the precision how Prabhupada explained the meaning of the Maha Mantra. If anybody who is serious, read that little pamphlet again. Just last night, I sent a message to a devotee who is being harassed by some of the institutional leaders of the society. I said, there's no worry. You take shelter of Srila Prabhupada. I said, you can take that little paper on chanting the Maha Mantra, print 100 copies, print 1,000 copies, and distribute it. Translate it in any language of the world. Do the same thing for the peace formula. Do the same thing for the little pamphlet who is crazy. There's numerous little pamphlets in the beginning where Prabhupada explains the fundamental aspects of Krishna consciousness. It's not difficult to understand. The only difficulty, and we've discussed this, I know Vishwakarma Prabhu has mentioned this many times, have dealt upon this many times, is this disease, this very deep disease of personal ambition. In 1970, in Los Angeles in July, Prabhupada wrote a letter. Prabhupada said, as soon as there is personal motivation, it is not possible to understand our Krishna consciousness philosophy. I've been asked by many devotees, new devotees, old devotees, even relatives, why is it that there are so many people that had so much personal, physical association with Prabhupada, but yet they seem to have misunderstood his teachings. They seem to have misunderstood so many important aspects of his teachings. Why? Prabhupada explains the personal motivation factor. It's just like sometimes when a person contracts a disease, there are some kinds of disease that can be very injurious, like cancer, diabetes is one of them. But there's other disease like pink eye or leprosy that you have to be extremely careful what you do. You have to be very, very careful what you do. Otherwise, it can spread. I know one person who was diagnosed with cancer, and the physician who examined him, he was an Indian gentleman, actually a Gujarati from a Vaishnav Gujarati. And he told this person, unless you take care of this very soon, you will die. Don't take this lightly. Don't take this lightly. You will die. I said, right now, I'm going to call another physician, a surgeon. He says, I'm going to call one or two other people. You report there, you get a blood test right away and report tomorrow to see this person. Next week, you report to that and take care of it. Do not neglect this. It is the same issue. So many people think, oh, I know, I was with Prabhupada. Some people say, oh, I got so many letters from Prabhupada. I went on so many morning walks with Prabhupada. I knew what Prabhupada really said, what he really wanted. I really knew what he really intended and what he really meant. Oh, really? Well, that's very nice of you. Then why did so many of these persons deviate so much? If you had so much personal, physical, living association with Prabhupada, what have you realized? What have you understood? What is your level of realization? And the reason why that problem is there is familiarity breeds contempt. Mere physical association is no guarantee of success. The beginning of success in spiritual life is to purge out, to get rid of that personal ambition disease, this profit, adoration, distinction, the desire for honor, the desire for prestige, the desire for power, the desire for money, men, women, boys, all kinds of nonsense ideas. This is the essence of what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, Kapitam va jagadisha kamaye. 4 things. I don't want followers. I don't want beautiful women. I don't want fame. I don't want to be a famous poet. Well, nowadays, it's not just women. People are hankering after underage boys and underage girls. Complete nonsense. That is the disease of personal ambition. This has to be rooted out. It has to be rooted out. Just the other day, 2 days ago, I was speaking to a devotee in Florida. He knows of one devotee woman who cured herself of cancer by certain herbal remedies. She followed a very austere, very, very steady regimen of taking certain herbal remedies, and along with her chanting and very good devotion, she cured herself of cancer. But some people neglect it. They lament. They don't take care of it. Lamentation doesn't accomplish anything. There's no lamentation. Sometimes devotees, oh, what's going to happen to the movement after all these problems? The problems will subside. It's not eternal. The movement is going on. Those who are pretenders, they will have problems. The sahajas, the pseudo devotees, the karmis in the dress of devotees, the kali chelas, the nonsense posers, pretenders, they will go away. They will become irrelevant. Irrelevant. And it is the duty of every Vaishnava to educate themselves as to what is the real philosophy. Go deep into this philosophy. Go deep into your heart, in all of our hearts. Why have you come to this movement? Is this for some personal benefit, personal aggrandizement, some cheap name and fame, or to really render some service to Krishna, to really understand who is Krishna, who is Lord Vasudeva? This is very important. This is all we have to do. Every one of us have to do this and rededicate ourselves to that great, eternal, liberated soul and his wonderful teaching, Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Yashodanandana Prabhu, for your explanations. Excellent. And it's important to know that in order to make advancement in spiritual life, one has to become qualified. Just like in the material world, in order to buy a house or buy a car, you need to qualify. You can't automatically go into a BMW dealership and buy a $150,000 car. Actually, you have to go through a review of your financial situation by the sales team there, and then they determine if you can qualify. You can dream about something. I can drive a BMW, but unless you qualify to buy it, you can't get it. So in the same way, Krishna consciousness is based on qualification. One has to become fixed up in the process of devotional service through chanting rounds every day, through following a specific diet of prasadam, and so many different rules and regulations that purify oneself of material contamination. And in this way, you become qualified to understand this philosophy of Krishna consciousness from the bona fide spiritual master. And I wanted to refer back everyone to today's purport. In the middle of the purport, it was very revealing, and Prabhupada mentions it as confidential message. Confidential. The understanding is obvious. It is for people that are qualified. They can get this. People that are not qualified cannot understand confidential. So I'll just refer to the purport at text 31, or 30, excuse me. The impersonalist has no idea of the transcendental form of the Lord and cannot understand this most confidential message of the Lord. The word most confidential is significant here because knowledge of devotional service is far and far above the knowledge of impersonal Brahman. Jnana means knowledge, ordinary, or any branch of knowledge. This knowledge develops up to the knowledge of impersonal Brahman. Above this, when the same is partially mixed up with devotion, such knowledge develops up to the knowledge of Paramatma, or the all-pervading Godhead. This is more confidential. Again, the word confidential. And when such knowledge is turned into pure devotional service and the confidential part of transcendental knowledge is attained, it is called the most confidential knowledge. Thus, the most confidential knowledge was imparted by the Lord to Brahma, Arjuna, Uddhava, etc. So, confidential devotee, someone who has qualified himself to understand this philosophy, and it's quite possible to achieve this. And I want to go to the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9 this morning, just briefly to read this section again about confidential knowledge, what it really means, as Prabhupada explains it in the Bhagavad Gita, as it is. Raja Vidya Raja Guyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam Pratyaksh Savagaman Dharmyan Susukam Kartam Avyayam. This knowledge is the king of education. Thank you. The most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge because it gives direct perception of the self by realization. It is the perfection of religion, and it is everlasting, and it is joyfully performed. So we'll move down to the first paragraph. Generally, people are not educated in this confidential knowledge. Again, the term confidential. They are educated in external knowledge as far as ordinary education is concerned. People are involved with so many departments: politics, sociology, physics, chemistry, mathematics, astronomy, engineering, etc. There are so many departments of knowledge all over the world and many huge universities, but there is, unfortunately, no university or educational institution where the science of the spirit soul is instructed. Yet the soul is the most important part of the body. Without the presence of the soul, the body has no value. Zero. Still, people are placing great stress on the bodily necessities of life, not caring for the spirit soul. The Bhagavad Gita, especially from the second chapter on, stresses the importance of the soul. In the very beginning, the Lord says that this body is perishable and that the soul is not perishable. This, okay, here it is a confidential part of knowledge. Simply knowing that the spirit soul is different from this body and that its nature is immutable, indestructible, and eternal. But that gives no positive information about the soul. Sometimes people are under the impression that the soul is different from the body, and then when the body is finished or one is liberated from the body, the soul remains in a void and becomes impersonal. But actually, that is not the fact. How can the soul, which is so active within this body, be inactive after being liberated from this body? This is Brahman realization that Prabhupada is elaborating on. It is always active. If it is eternal, then it is eternally active, and its activities in the spiritual kingdom, again, here we go, are the most confidential part of spiritual knowledge, devotional service. These activities of the spirit soul are therefore indicated there as constituting the king of all knowledge, the most confidential part of all knowledge. This is an insight for the devotees of the Lord to have. This knowledge is the purest form of all activities, as explained in the Vedic literature. In the Padma Purana, man's sinful activities have been analyzed and are shown to be the results of sin after sin. Those who are engaged in fruitive activities, which is 99% of the people in this world, are tangled in different stages and forms of sinful reactions. For instance, when the seed of a particular tree is sown, the tree does not appear immediately to grow. It takes some time. It's first a small sprouting plant, then it assumes the form of a tree, then flowers, bears fruit, and when it is complete, the flowers and fruits are enjoyed by persons who have sown the seeds of the tree. Similarly, a man performs a sinful act, and like a seed, it takes time to fructify. There are different stages. The sinful action may have already stopped within the individual, but the results of the fruit of that sinful action are still enjoyed. There are sins which are still in the form of a seed, and there are others which are already fructified and giving us fruit, which we are enjoying as distress and pain, as explained in the 20th verse of the 7th chapter. So here, confidential knowledge being explained to the devotees who have qualified themselves through the process of devotional service to understand this important reality that all of us are living in. Yes, and these purports and explanations open our eyes to how to get out of the entanglement of material life. Yashodanandana Prabhu, please.
Well, some very important points are being raised here about the meaning of confidential knowledge and what is the real meaning of life, especially for those engaged in the practice of Krishna consciousness. Just like yesterday, we were describing and explaining that Srila Prabhupada has given many explanations of that specific verse on Chaitanya Charitamrita with regards to how to develop love of Krishna. Because it's to be understood as a devotee, the reason why we practice Krishna consciousness, the reason we engage in these various sadhanas or regulated practice of Krishna consciousness is to ultimately attain or revive our love for Krishna. And Prabhupada has described this many times at different lectures. I just want to briefly read something. This is from a lecture from Srila Prabhupada on Bhagavad Gita in Bombay, India on March 28, 1971. This is a lecture on Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text 1 and 2 in Bombay, India on March 28, 1971. Srila Prabhupada explains, I've got a relationship with Krishna eternally. Now it is covered. So practice this yoga means reviving our original relationship with Krishna. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunoi, Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Karaya Udoy. From Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 22, text 107. It is simply awakened, not that artificially we are imposing some impression to the minds of our students that they're hankering after Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. No, it is a process to remove all the dirty things from the heart. So this is a very important point, because many times I've spoken to devotees, and devotees who slackened off their spiritual practices. Why, one devotee one time said, well, I don't have the time. I have to work. I've got to go to work. I've got to commute. I go in the car. There's wife, there's kids, there's this and that. I said, oh, you say you go in the car? Your car has a tape recorder or some kind of a device that you can listen to music? Yeah. You listen to the news? Yeah, you said. I said, what about listening to the Samsara prayers sung by Srila Prabhupada? What about listening to Srila Prabhupada chanting the Maha Mantra? So, oh, what a concept. In other words, it depends on the consciousness. If we are serious about getting the result of these spiritual practices, we have to develop a taste for hearing from the bona fide acharya and hearing the proper source. Now, we make a point, like somebody recently again says, why is it that Vishwakarma are always hammering on this point every single time you speak about not changing the books, original books, and non-adulterated books? Why? Because it's important. I've said before, from my practical several years in India, especially in South India, in traveling and preaching with Mahamsa Swami, Achyutananda Swami, even with Guru Kripa Swami, I've never once heard of these original Vaishnava Sampradayas changing one word of their teachings. But in our movement, they didn't think. Why are we changing? They claim, oh, we're just editing. No, you have no right to edit. You have no authority to edit after the Acharya has departed. And this is the problem. They don't understand who is that personality, Srila Prabhupada. We'll leave it there for now. We can have some more notable speakers to bring up different questions. Hare Krishna.
Haribo. Glories to Prabhupada. It is true that we have to become qualified to make advancement in Krishna consciousness through the strict practice of devotional service by his directions from our by the directions from our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. That qualifies us. That's why we have these classes on a regular basis throughout the week. And I wanted to mention to everyone that we do want to thank all of you for participating in this program. This gives strength to our effort. You know, it's not a program for a personal purpose. It's a program to represent the principle of hearing in association with other devotees. Well, nowadays, it's very difficult to get this association, Dharma Bhavana, as you know. And even Nilesh mentioned yesterday in his chat in the class, how about the association with devotees that are not following this process of Guru Tattva, how that is a contaminated association. And it affects us in a bad way. Although people don't see it, the fact is still there. So this qualification for spiritual life requires adherence to these principles. That's why it's not we're mentioning them because we're reading them every day in the books, and Prabhupada is specifying this importance of hearing from the pure devotee in the different mediums that he has provided for us, which are quite merciful in this current day. So, of technology. So we're dovetailing technology, and it's a blessing, very much so. And I think we should all count our blessings, and we're going to move ahead with Dharma Bhavana to give us a few comments on today's program. Hare Krishna.
Oh, Hare Krishna, thank you. I got called to kitchen duty, so I'm here in the kitchen. Just mentioned we had a devotee at our house sometime back, maybe 6 weeks ago, from the Sri Sampradaya, and I mentioned to him that hundreds and thousands of changes have been made to Srila Prabhupada's words, books, and in some cases, the real meaning of what was being written or spoken. And he scratched his head and he said, that's not possible. No one can change the Acharya's words. No one would ever think to change one of Ramanujacharya's words. It's not possible. And yet, but in a second note, yesterday I was listening to a local lecture at the ISKCON temple, and it went like a beautiful lecture from the motivational speaker from Bombay, glorifying Prabhupada, being greatly austere, coming from the Jala Juda, and so many different pastimes and activities that took place that are wonderful to hear. And then there was some mention also that all the brahmacharis now are being recommended to read some book from Bhakti Rakshak Shridhar Maharaj. And I was kind of shocked to hear that he would say that at at ISKCON temple. And I know that Shridhar Maharaj was Prabhupada's friend. He lived with him for a couple of years. But at the same time, a lot of the kind of philosophy that came in those books is very much category different, the opposite of what we're taught for Guru Tattva. So I just wanted to mention that if anybody could kind of comment on that.
Yeah, I'll have you Shodanandana comment on that if he would.
Well, basically, what you're saying here is a very important point, because unless we study and have our allegiance to the original teachings, the original unrevised, non-adulterated teachings of Srila Prabhupada, all there will be is confusion. Just like this Vaishnava you mentioned about the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. Everybody in that Sampradaya studies the writings of Ramanujacharya, the subsequent commentaries of their other acharyas, but they don't change the original teachings. This is not allowed. This is inconceivable how somebody could change the original writing of the acharya. Now, the way they circumvent that in our movement is saying, oh, this wasn't written by Prabhupada, it was edited by Hayagriva. But Prabhupada approved it. I mean, Prabhupada approved his Bhagavad Gita work. He approved his Srimad Bhagavatam work. Prabhupada actually chastised them in 1977 for making some changes to the Easy Journey to Other Planets, but that can easily be corrected. But the disease is that people do not understand the exalted position of Srila Prabhupada. Just like in the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, they understand that Ramanuja was an incarnation, a special incarnation, not of Vishnu, but of one of the associates of Lord Vishnu. So in other words, one has to understand the basic fundamental principles. And if one does not understand that, then there will be a problem. And that's what we see. That's why all these different interpretations and this running around to the latest run-of-the-mill new fad so-called advisor or various people who come along, people take this to say, oh, I need a new living advisor now. I need another advisor with a new interpretation, new fanciful interpretation. We don't need that. All we need is to stay faithful and have all complete allegiance to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Exactly. And I wanted to mention, just before we move forward with the dialogue with others, Dharma Bhavana, that there is a very important letter that was sent by Srila Prabhupada, I believe it was in 1974, to Rupanuga Prabhu, who's a devotee residing, he's a senior devotee in age specifically, that he was sent an instruction in regards to association with the Gaudiya Math. Now, if you have a chance, everyone, you can look this letter up. It's a very detailed explanation about Prabhupada's relationship with his godbrothers. And it gives us insight into understanding how their input into this mission by some of our godbrothers that went to them against Prabhupada's instructions did destroy the ISKCON movement. So it was something that happened to Bhakti Siddhanta's mission, Prabhupada in India with his Gaudiya Math. It was destroyed by his disciples. And that same poison that destroyed that mission entered into our mission and now has destroyed it. So this is a great tragedy. And Prabhupada used the term Yashodanandana, whimsical behavior. Now, whimsical, this can have so many meanings. And if you study the histories of both organizations, it will reveal how it is so important for everyone to stay fixed on the Guru Tattva system that Prabhupada taught us, that the spiritual master is the transparent via media for Krishna. Nilesh Sharma, I see you've joined us. Maybe you'd like to share. I saw some message here on the chat. Maybe you'd like to further
Hare
elaborate.
Krishna.
Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
We need to understand is that our journey towards back home, back to Godhead starts how and starts from where, from which point does it start? I'm going to pose this question to each one of us over here. And how do we start this journey? How does this journey back home, back to Godhead begin? Or to understand ourselves in reality, who we really are. Athato Brahma Jignasa. Now is the time to inquire, but from inquire to whom, from whom, and how. So this journey starts only with us, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Tad Vidhi, the right way. Vidhi means the way to go about it. Tad Vidhi Pranipatena Pariprashnina Sevaya Upadeshanti Te Gnanam Gnaninas Tattvadarshina. We have to surrender ourselves to someone who has seen the truth. And if we surrender ourselves to the wrong person, or if we surrender ourselves to the wrong books, how are we going to reach that final destination? So if our very first step is wrong or faulty, then all our subsequent steps are going to be wrong. It's just like solving a math problem. Whenever we are doing a math problem, if I make a mistake on the very first level, no matter afterwards, all my steps are proper, I'm not going to get the right answer or the right result of it. So this journey of transcendental sciences starts with surrendering to the right person and the right books. Now, we may think we are surrendering to Srila Prabhupada, but if we are surrendering to Srila Prabhupada through the adulterated books, are we doing it? Are we doing the right thing? I'm surrendering. No. If you say you have surrendered to Srila Prabhupada, even if there are grammatical mistakes, what are you going to do? You're going to accept it. Otherwise, what is the surrender? Oh, I'm going to correct this, or I'm going to correct that. Even if truly there were grammatical mistakes, if you say you are surrendered, you're going to accept along with the imperfections, the so-called imperfections according to material standards. Because this is our material tendency, is to what? To constantly correct. If Vishwakarma Prabhu makes a mistake, immediately I'm going to jump in and I'm saying, Vishwakarma Prabhu, you made a mistake. What is this tendency coming from? This material contamination. You see, it is the material contamination. But I can rectify the mistake in a gentle way. Because Vishwakarma Prabhu and ourselves, we can compare ourselves as God brothers. Because at the end of the day, we are both disciples of Srila Prabhupada. But can I, in my position with my relationship with Srila Prabhupada as a guru, can I correct that? No, I cannot do that. And that is the reason why we go back to that story of Chaitanya Charitamrita, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu meets this illiterate Brahmana. Everybody is making fun of him when he sits down and tries to read the Bhagavad Gita, but he does not know how to read. Now, if his Guru Maharaj just told him, I want you to read the Bhagavad Gita every day, what did he say to his Guru Maharaj? What did he say? Anyone? He did not say anything. He said, yes, Guru Maharaj, I will read the Bhagavad Gita every day. Did he revolt with his Guru Maharaj says, what, are you trying to make fun of me? I'm illiterate. You know I'm illiterate and you're telling me to go and read? Don't you know I'm illiterate? How am I going to read that? No. He sat down with the book, and by just looking at the cover page, he realized the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. And this is recognized by none other than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. So, are we behaving like that illiterate, what you call Brahmana, or are we behaving like a super literate materialist who is out there to correct Srila Prabhupada's books? The question has to be answered by each one of us. And so all these will sit down, because if we make the mistake at the very first step, all consequent steps are going to be faulty, even though you may have done them correctly, because your first step is wrong. And that is the reason this point has been berated over and over again. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, there's a good point you've made here in regards to how to understand our relationship and qualify ourselves to be considered disciples or devotees of Prabhupada and Krishna. It's simple for the simple and difficult for the crooked. Very simple. And the process is simple. And Yashodanandana Prabhu did put a nice thing on the chat here that everything is revealed through the process. I just heard that again on another lecture from Srila Prabhupada the other day, that everything is revealed to the chanting of Hare Krishna. The more we chant carefully these holy names on a daily basis, there's 16 rounds minimum. One of my godbrothers, or our godbrothers, Guru Kripa Yashodananda, and he sent me a message. Oh, well, you have to chant at least 64 rounds. I wrote him back. I said, well, I was personally instructed to chant 16 rounds minimum. And we all know the pastime. So if we can strictly adhere to the chanting, following the rules, we'll qualify ourselves for this confidential knowledge. Yashodanandana, if you could wind up the discussion, and then I have an announcement to make, please. Microphone.
I've heard this argument before. This comes from various persons involved with the Gaudiya Math. They say that in the Chaitanya Bhagavata, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that one should chant 16 rounds, and that various previous acharyas have said one is fallen if he just does not chant 64 rounds. But we all know the story in the beginning when Prabhupada requested devotees to chant 64 rounds. Devotees says, we can't do this. So Prabhupada eventually just relented and said, you chant 16 rounds. That was the standard that he established. Now, if somebody is that advanced and they have that much time on their hand, they chant 64 rounds, good for you. But we know that Prabhupada said to chant 16 rounds because Prabhupada understood the mentality and the circumstances of people in America, people in Western countries. So these kind of ideas that they get from various esoteric teachings or various other advisors, we follow the ultimate advisor, Srila Prabhupada. Simple. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Well, thank you, everyone, for participating today. Time flies, Mother Rochisha? It's already 11:30. It's just, wow, it's 11:32. And time flies when you're in association with other devotees, discussing about the transcendental pastimes of Srila Prabhupada and the Supreme Personality of Godhead and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So I wanted to mention that coming up in 2025 in February, I'm looking at the itinerary right now, which is tentative. It's not confirmed. But it appears that the plan is to have an initiation ceremony in Mexico in February. The tentative date is February 10th. It's not confirmed, and we will confirm it later. And there are devotees traveling from around the world to take part in this initiation ceremony. And we have a list of people who cannot attend, we'll also be reviewing from different countries like in Ukraine or Russia, in France, in Italy, and of course in Mexico and America and Canada. So if you're interested in initiation, you can reach out to us and we can discuss that program with you to see if it passes qualification, because there is qualification for it. There was qualification when Prabhupada was personally with us, and it was left up to his disciples to review the new candidates and then pass the reference to him for approval. He would approve them, and on it would march. I see we have a question here. Mexico City is tentatively the location. And it appears that we're going to be having a program there. Pran Mohini, according to information we received from Krishna Kishore and his wife, we could have up to 200 to 300 people attend this function from their network and expanding networks. So it is a positive thing, very, very enlivening for us to be able to give this information out to all of you. And we hope that you can think about, well, you can either join us online, because we will be broadcasting it on the internet, on our channel, to make people aware. And we encourage anybody, yes, it is next year, 2025. Time flies. 2024 is moving on quickly. We're already in this September. And so within a few months, this initiation will be in Mexico City. So thank you, everyone, for being a part of the program. I wanted to remind you, we've had a change in the programming scheduling, and it's moved to a Thursday. And we're endeavoring to keep the programs online Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. And we thank everyone for helping. It's for everyone's benefit that these programs are. We have a large audience, not only attending, we have a good group that attends regularly on the Zoom program, but we have a larger audience that's attending regularly on the YouTube channel. I posted it up on my on our sites, PDA and the Hamilton Hare Krishna Society site here earlier when it came up on my Vishwakarma Das Facebook. And I just looked back at it just in the last few minutes, and we already had over 50 people attending the program online outside of what's in the actual Zoom broadcast here with all of you. So this is spreading throughout the world, this information, and we invite everyone to invite your friends, like it says at the end of the program here. Invite your friends, invite sincere seekers of this information to these programs. And we have invitation cards. We're going to have to re-edit them for the Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday program. But we're advertising and promoting this to as many people as possible if they're interested seriously in taking up spiritual life. All glories to the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Thank you again. Let's move forward with the Hare Krishna mantra chanting from 1966 by Srila Prabhupada, playing on the bongo, one of his recordings. It's very good. And then we'll have the closing remarks by Yashodanandana Prabhu. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the assembled Vaishnava devotees. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances. We all offer our respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Thanks, everybody, for participating in this auspicious program of reading and discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you, Pran Mohini, for your participation. Krishna Katha in San Diego, California. We see the top of your head. Wonderful. And it's wonderful display of Srimad Bhagavatam. We greatly appreciate your very steady dedication to reproduce and reprint Srila Prabhupada's original Bhagavatam. And our good friend in Italy, Vijay Pandit Prabhu, Bhakta Rupesh in Bombay, and our good original helper of this program, Venkat Bhatta Prabhu in Bangalore, India. Thank you very much, Venkat Bhatta Prabhu, for arranging this program, and everybody else who participated. Chaitanya Nishinga Prabhu in New Jersey, and everybody here. Also from our good friends in Ukraine and Russia, everybody who is listening. We invite everybody to listen to the program on Thursday, this upcoming Thursday. I may not be able to participate as I'll be driving to Los Angeles and back, but I know that Vishwakarma is quite competent to handle the program. I will do my best to stop somewhere along the highway to participate. I will see what I can do. Again, everybody, our respectful obeisances to everybody, and we'll see you all soon on Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific time, corresponding to 8 p.m. Hamilton, Ontario time and Florida time. Hare Krishna, all glories to his divine grace and his wonderful, non-adulterated teachings. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.